Hello parents and guardians, welcome to band here at Ocoee Middle School. I'm so excited to finally get to talk to you. My name is Mr. Chase and I'm the band director here at Ocoee Middle School. Normally we would have a band parent night where we would talk about all of this information and hopefully answer most of your questions that you might have about band here at Ocoee Middle School. But under the circumstances, with everything going on with COVID-19, I decided to make a video for you instead, going over that information. So, let's get to it. So, I wanted to welcome you to OMS Band. This is our 2020 OMS Band parent information. I hope this is helpful for you, and I will be sending this out as a PDF through email as well. Thank you for choosing band and being here. While this year is going to be different, we're still excited for the coming year. We have a lot of stuff still planned. I'm coming up with new ideas all the time for the situation. A tiny bit about me. My name is Dylan Chase. I grew up in Ohio and I went to Ohio University. I got a bachelor's in music education, a bachelor's in music performance, and a minor in jazz studies. I've performed throughout the United States and in Europe, and I've recorded a studio CD as well. Before I taught here at Ocoee Middle School, I taught at Wellston and Jackson City Schools, where I taught middle school and high school. And here at Ocoee Middle School, this will be my 4th year here at Ocoee. And very exciting is I get married in a week, actually. So that'll be next Saturday. About the band. Here at Ocoee Middle School, we have just over 200 students. We are one of the largest organizations on campus. Many of our students are involved in band and sports, Avid, Edge, theater, choir, orchestra, and the other clubs and organizations on campus, as well as all sorts of other after-school things as well, whether that be soccer or dance or whatever else. We have a lot of kids that are very involved in different things, so just because you're in band doesn't mean that you can't be in other sports or activities as well. In the past, we have participated in the Florida Music Performance Assessments, that's called MPA, and we have had many students be very successful. So, this class in particular that your student is signed up for is Beginning Band. Beginning Band is a class that is an introductory class to playing a band instrument. All right? Students do not need any prior experience playing an instrument to be successful in band. Some people believe that, oh, my kid doesn't have an instrument or has never played an instrument, so they're not going to be very good at it, or they don't know anything about music. That is totally okay. We're going to be starting everybody from complete scratch, and I will teach them everything they need to know to be successful, so they don't need to have any prior experience at all playing an instrument or even knowing music concepts at all, because we're going to all talk about that and teach that straight from scratch, okay? All we need is hard work and a good attitude. So they're going to take their instruments home and practice it. Many of you guys are already signed up for Launch Ed, so they're already going to be home. While those that are signed up for face-to-face will also have to take their instrument home and practice. It's very, very important. It helps out a lot. Due to COVID-19 this year, we will only be starting students on flute, clarinet, trumpet, and trombone. Those 4 instruments, okay? We're going to talk about that here soon. But first I wanted to explain how grading works here at OMS Band. With the OMS Band we use weighted grades. What that means is that there are different categories that equal a different percentage of their overall grade. So their overall grade they get for the end of the quarter with the end of the quarter report card. With that there are different categories that equal that 100%. So as you can see here, participation equals 30% of their overall grade, tests and quizzes are 30% of their overall grade, classwork and homework is 30% of their overall grade, and projects are going to be 10% of their grade, so equaling their 100%. Students' grade is earned based off of their grade in each of the categories. So let's say they do really good at participation, but they don't do so well maybe in tests and quizzes, right? So the participation only equals up to a 30% of it, while the other ones might bring them down of their overall grade. You got to think about it like that, okay? Yes, unfortunately, it is possible to fail band. There are kids that are surprised by this every year, but the number one reason students fail band is because they don't practice at home. It is so important that a lot of these concepts that we teach, I teach them in class, and they need to go home and then practice it, because it's not like a one and done thing where you say it once and it's perfect forever. It's like you got to say it, and then you got to go work on it, and you have to practice it and get it under your fingers and in your body and everything else. So the first thing I want to talk about is participation, because it's one of the most important aspects of this class is participation. Participation is a mandatory thing in a band class. Participation will look a lot differently this year because of the situation. Students will earn a weekly participation score out of 20 points. So at the end of the week, they're going to receive up to 20 points for their participation. Students will need to have their webcam on and actively playing their instrument, as well as following along with the lesson. So this is really important. I've had a couple kids who said, Mr. Chase, my webcam doesn't work, my microphone doesn't work. I totally understand. What you need to do is, if your child says that something doesn't work with their computer, please call the school and tell them that there's something wrong with the computer. Tell them exactly what is not working, and they will schedule an appointment with you where you can bring in the computer and they can fix it, or they'll just give you a completely new laptop. All right? It's so important that we actually are able to see each other, and that we're actually able to communicate to each other with this class. Students will need to be prepared to use their microphone to answer questions, perform, or add to a discussion. After a lesson, students also may be asked to complete an exit ticket for participation. So if we have like a long lesson, maybe it's mostly me talking or showing videos or whatever else, and we're not getting to participate in as many discussions or questions or playing, and maybe it's something like we're teaching rhythm or style or whatever, there may be an exit ticket at the end that might be for participation, where it has like one question or a couple questions to make sure that the kids were paying attention and that they understand it. Students that don't follow participation guidelines will have participation points deducted for the week. So students that don't participate in an appropriate or meaningful way will have participation points deducted for the week. Some of the examples of what could cause a student to lose points is not playing their instrument, leaving their computer for significant amounts of time, spamming unrelated remarks in the chat, refusing to answer questions or perform, not contributing to class discussions, or not turning on their webcam. So they might be in front of the computer, but if they're not actually playing their instrument, I can't give them points for participating in the activity, right? Leaving their computer for a significant amount of time. Obviously, I'm not talking about going to the bathroom or something like that. We're all humans, we got to do that. That's totally fine. What I mean is if a student and they log in and then they leave and they're gone until like the last 5 minutes of class, that would be a very significant amount of time. They've missed the entire lesson. They're not actually participating. Spamming unrelated remarks in the chat. There's a chat box that we've been using for answering questions or when they need to ask me a question, as well as using our microphones and things like that. In the chat, sometimes the kids forget that this is actually school, and they're using it more like it's like a Twitch feed or like a YouTube feed kind of situation. And when that happens, I will talk to them and ask them to make sure that they're not spamming unrelated stuff and try to keep it focused on it in class. But if it becomes too much, we will have to lower some participation scores because they're not participating in a meaningful way. Refusing to answer questions or perform. All right, so with this one, we're going to be calling on students throughout throughout lessons and classes and things like that. And if students are just not answering questions or they're not performing, we're not interacting with each other, that can cause some problems. Not contributing to class discussions if we're having a conversation and it's a consistent thing and they're not actually doing anything, they're not contributing in any way, and also not turning on their webcam because they just don't want to. That would also be another reason. Another with the webcam, so maybe they turn the webcam on, but then they point the webcam straight up at the ceiling. Well, I can't actually see them. And I will talk to them and ask them, hey, can you lower your computer a little bit? I want to actually see you. It's very important. Why is it so important? It's because band is a very hands-on class, and we have a very interesting year ahead of us. I'm going to do everything I can to help your child be successful, but I need their help as well. Okay? It's so important that I see them, because band is so hands-on and everybody's doing stuff with their bodies and their instruments and they're playing music and all this, that if I can't see them, I can't help them with any physical things that they might be doing wrong with the instrument. If their instrument is completely upside down and with the wrong hand, I can't help them do that if I can't see them. Then why do we need the microphone? If I can't hear them, we're literally making music. If I can't hear them, I can't tell them what they're doing right, and I can't help them fix whatever they're doing wrong. So that's why it's so important for this class that we have to have the webcam and a microphone working. Super, super important. Again, if your child says that theirs is not working, please call the school and set up an appointment to get that fixed or replaced. 30% of their grade is going to be the classwork and homework. We will be utilizing Canvas for most classwork and homework, just like all of your other classes. Students need to click on the word modules to access the course's content. This is the same not just for my class, but like all of the classes. So you're looking for the word modules. The type of work varies from note identification exercises to listening examples, discussions, and all sorts of other things. For my class, all classwork and homework have a due date, but I will accept late work up to the Friday before the end of the quarter. Now, I do accept late work. This is different for other classes. This is only for Mr. Chase Band. I do accept late work, and I won't penalize the kids for late work. I'm not going to do any deductions for it being late, and it can go all the way up to the Friday before the end of the quarter. But that being said, it's way easier to turn the work in on time. Otherwise, the homework starts to snowball out of control. And also, just like other classes, there you might have a homework assignment that's like the first step, and then we're just making sure that we understand it, getting any questions out of the way, and then the next homework might build upon what you did in the first homework. So if you're missing that first homework and you go straight to the second, you're going to have a little bit more trouble. So it's really important to try to stay on time. But I will accept late work. I'm not going to penalize you. The other nice thing about my class is I also let all the students do redos. So if they have a homework assignment, let's say they got a 5 out of 10, that's technically a 50% F, right? And so if they want to redo that, they can redo it for 100% credit, okay? They can completely redo it, and I'm going to take whatever the highest score is that they turn in to me. So you can turn in work late. You can also redo all of your work as well. So that's great. Why do I say the Friday before the end of the quarter? That's because if you remember, there's over 200 students, but only one of me. I don't have an assistant band director. I don't have an assistant teacher, anything like that. It's just me doing everybody's homework and grades and tests and creating things, and it's a lot. So I need it by the Friday before the end of the quarter so I can get all of those grades in time for the end of the quarter. The other thing is that I have already told this to the kids, is that when you turn in your work late, I have a very long to-do list of everything from creating lessons and grading and emails and everything else. Your late work is going to go to the very bottom of the to-do list. I'm going to get to it, and I'm going to get to it before the end of the quarter. But if you turn in your work late, it's going to be graded late. So please don't expect me to grade the late work right as soon as you turn it in, okay? I will try to grade things on time when they're turned in on time. It's just when they're turned in late, it goes to the bottom of my to-do list because I have so many other things, right? Tests and quizzes. 30% of their grade is tests and quizzes, and students will have some sort of test or quiz every week. Usually on Friday, but it might change depending on the circumstances or the week or what's ever going on. The large majority of these assessments are playing tests. Playing tests generally involve performing your instrument, but sometimes will involve counting rhythms, chanting note names, etc. So these playing tests, they could be as simple as, hey, here's this in your book, do number 65. And then they just perform that number as their playing test. Each playing test or performance test is 10 points, and students will be graded with either a 0, a 5, or a 10. We try to make it very simple for the kids to understand. So, hey, you performed it, you knew it very well, you practiced really hard, and you did it without any mistakes, or maybe you had like one mistake, you got a 10, full credit, you're good to go. So you didn't know it maybe all the way, you didn't practice it as much as you should have, and you performed it and you had a couple of mistakes, but for the most part it's okay. That's a 5. And then you didn't know it at all, you didn't really practice it, and it doesn't really sound like anything. That's a 0, okay? There will be situations where students will need to perform in front of others, as well as utilize Canvas Studio and Flipgrid. Canvas Studio and Flipgrid are computer programs that they can use to videotape themselves playing, and they can submit it to me for review later on. With their grade 0, 5, or 10, the nice part is all playing tests are open for students to try again for full credit up to the Friday before the end of the quarter. So if a student receives a 0 or a 5 and would like to try it again, they can and are encouraged to do so. Students can retake a playing test up to the Friday before the end of the quarter. And I really highly encourage this to all of the students. If they get a 0 or a 5 on a test, let's say maybe they had a really busy week, they didn't get to practice as much as they wanted, they get a 5 on the test on Friday, but then over the weekend they got some time, they practiced it a little bit more, and they go, hey Mr. Chase, I want to redo this test, and they submit it, and it's like, perfect, absolutely, we're going to take the 10, we're going to take the highest score that you get. And I want to remind you, homework and classwork, open for the whole quarter up to the Friday before the end of the quarter, and they can redo it for 100% credit. They can turn in the late work. Playing tests and quizzes, they can redo them at an unlimited amount of times, as many times as they need to get that 100%, that 10 points for it, all the way up to the Friday before the end of the quarter. So everything is able to be redone or turned in late as long as it's done and it's done well, okay? For me, Mr. Chase, my philosophy is that maybe the kids haven't got it the first time, but as long as they understand it and they truly get it, that's okay. Even if it took them a little bit longer than maybe somebody else, that's okay. I do have to cut off at the end of the quarter, because once the quarter switches over to a different one, then I'm not allowed to go back and change the grades for the first quarter. So the best thing for students to do is don't wait until the last moment. Try to get it in earlier, try to get it in on time, so when you do run into issues of misunderstanding or needing extra help, you have the time to get it and do it well, okay? I just want your kids to be successful, and I want to help them out. So whenever there is questions, have them message me so that we can talk about it and I can help them. For my face-to-face folks, in-person retakes must be set up with Mr. Chase in advance. It will only be before or after school or during third period with prior permission from their third period teacher. Why third period? Because third period is my planning period currently, but there's a chance that I might be losing a planning period and be teaching 7 periods. I'm not totally sure yet. So if that changes, we'll let you know about that. Students can retake their playing tests virtually using Canvas Studio or Flipgrid, but they need to inform me first, and that's awesome. I want them to retake their test, but sometimes it doesn't give me the notification that they did retake it, and in that case, I need them to let me know so that I can go and grade it. I know most students are nervous to play in front of each other, but performance is a skill that is practiced, not inherited. Students must do it more often to get better at it. And this is even the same for me. I started band in 6th grade. I had no previous band experience before 6th grade. I didn't know another instrument or anything like that. Started in 6th grade, moved on, and as I had played, I still get nervous playing in front of others. I even get nervous talking in front of others, but the more that I do it, the better I get at it. And this is a great skill for your kids as well. But we always try to create a loving and nurturing community, that everybody is cheering for each other, everybody is rooting each other on, because we are all one team and we all create a sound together. So everybody wants everybody to be successful. 10% is going to be projects. You'll see this as the word summative on Skyward, but it's the projects one. Normally this category would be concert performance. Normally we do concerts, we would have 2 concerts a year. But due to the circumstances with COVID, this category has had to change. This year, in place of their concert grade, we will be doing a music-related project. I'll tell you guys more details about that coming soon. So let's talk about behavior in class. This is both virtual and face-to-face. Band classes are very large, so it can get pretty chaotic pretty quickly. When we are face-to-face, it usually ends up being about 50 people in a classroom, all with noisemakers, right? These instruments, they make a lot of noise. So if you could imagine, think of 50 people playing these instruments, and they're all playing different things. It's a headache-inducing moment, right? So what we got to do is have a lot of structure and a lot of expectations and a lot of procedures so that we don't go out of control. Because we do have a lot of fun, right? But we got to make sure that the class doesn't get out of hand. I will try to handle most of the situations in class if there's any behavior situations in class. But if I need to, I will send you guys an email or give you a call. Please know I would like to work with you because I think all of your children are amazing and special. When we work together, we can really make things happen. Other people's instruments. There is a zero tolerance policy for touching or playing another person's instrument. This includes the school's instruments. So if that school instrument is not rented out to you, then you cannot touch it. All right, it's very important that you are only touching your stuff and you're not touching others. Especially with everything going on with COVID, people don't want you touching their stuff. Many of the instruments are expensive, and if a child was to break an instrument that didn't belong to them, their parent/guardian is financially responsible for fixing or replacing that instrument. That includes the school instruments. I take this very seriously. On the very first year that I taught here at OMS, we had a student who went in and had a clarinet, and found someone else's clarinet, was playing with it, dropped it, shattered into a bunch of pieces. And so that family had to end up buying another clarinet. It was a mess. All right, I don't want to do that for anyone. All right, and these are very expensive. I tell the kids that the band room is one of the most expensive rooms in the school. So we have to treat the other instruments with respect, as well as our own. Cell phones, pictures, videos. We ask that none of our students are using a cell phone in any class. And that's not even just my class, that is everyone's class, okay? And cell phones are only permitted before and after school and during lunch. This includes texts and phone calls from parents/guardians. If you need to get a hold of your child, please call the school first. We're talking about the face-to-face students. If you need to get a hold of your child, I know it's super easy just to send them a text, but it becomes disruptive whether it's my class or someone else's class. So please call the school first. I'm not the only teacher with this problem. There is a lot of teachers will also vouch that it's the same thing for them. You have students that they're not paying attention in class, they miss the content, and you go, hey, put your cell phone away. And they're like, oh, it's my parent. But then you might be walking by and they're on Snapchat. And so they just always say, oh, my parent's calling me. And that's not okay, right? So Mr. Chase will use his cell phone, me, as a tool to help the students. What I will do is students may be photographed or videoed, but only in an educational and promotional way. What I mean by this is that I might have my phone, and a lot of times students might not realize what they're doing until they see it. So you could say, hey, you're holding that kind of weird, you should hold it like this. They go, no, I'm not, Mr. Chase, I'm not doing that. And then you just take it, all right, cool, hold that again. And then I take a quick video or like a picture, and then I turn it around and show them, and they're like, oh, you're right, Mr. Chase, yeah, I am doing that. Or maybe they're playing something and they think it sounds really good, but there's something wrong with it. I record it, and we can sit down together, listen to it, watch it, and be like, hey, do you hear how that was wrong right here? Oh, yeah, you're right, Mr. Chase, okay. It kind of gives them that like aha light bulb moment goes off. So that's really important. Financial requirements for band. This is the bad part about band that I have to be honest with you guys about, but I know with everything going on in the world right now, this is tough, okay? So I want to be honest with you. Yes, there is a cost to be in band. I've tried to do everything I can to keep the cost down as much as possible. Some costs to be in band is renting your instrument, getting the book, getting your binder, reeds if that's your instrument, and the possible band fee, okay? Well, we're going to talk about each one of these. Instruments that students can play in band. Due to COVID-19, the instruments that students can start on are limited this year. We have a lot less resources and individual time with each student, like a lot less resources and a lot less individual time with everybody. This will give your student a lot more individualized focus on their chosen instrument if we only stick with these 4. This is also the cheapest option for all instruments. The students' choices are going to be flute, clarinet, trumpet, and trombone. These instruments are the cheapest ones that are offered through all of your vendors and things like that. Other instruments like French horn, euphonium, saxophone, percussion, things like these get a lot more expensive and a lot more difficult to teach when there's all of these, because again, it is only me with the computer. So instead of trying to teach 7 different subjects of all these different instruments, I'll be able to narrow that down to 4 to try to give more individualized attention to each section of students. What about the other instruments? We will not be starting instruments such as saxophone, French horn, euphonium, tuba, and percussion in the fall. When it's safe for everyone to go back face to face, we will reevaluate the situation, and students will have the option to switch to those instruments. Now, they can switch to them. Flute, clarinet, trumpet, and trombone create a great foundation for switching into the other instruments in the future. So if your student is really into the saxophone, you can start them on flute or clarinet, and that would help them switch over to it later. If they're really interested in French horn, trumpet is a great start, and they can switch from trumpet over to French horn. If they're interested in euphonium or tuba, they can start on trombone and go over to those ones. What about percussion? That's like the drums and the mallets and all of those. Literally any of these first 4 instruments will help them develop that sense of time and coordination and reading music and all of these skills that percussionists need. They will get them from these first 4 instruments and be able to switch to those later on. Okay, choosing an instrument. How does that work? Normally, I would have the opportunity to work with each student to figure out what instrument each student has a natural aptitude for. Unfortunately, we will not be able to test out each instrument, so instead, we will be doing instrument presentations in class going over each instrument. This year, I'm looking for students' interest in a particular instrument. I want the students to love the instrument that they chose, okay? But that being said, I can only take so much of one instrument before that section is full. So band is kind of like a baseball team. You have players cover all of the positions. So you've got like your pitcher and your catcher and first base, second base, third base, shortstop, and all the outfielders. And they all work together to create this one team, right? Well, band is very similar to that. You have to have a certain amount of people in each section. Otherwise, it becomes way overbalanced in one way. If you have everybody wants to play the trumpet, and then you get like 3 trombones and that's all you got, like you don't have a band. You just have a whole bunch of trumpets. So you need to balance it all out. It's a big thing, and we'll work together, and I'm going to work with your kids and figure out what everybody wants to do and go from there. But I do want to say, don't get an instrument yet. We haven't talked about the different instruments. We have not done presentations. Give it a little bit of time, and I will tell you when to go get the instruments, okay? Don't get one yet. My biggest recommendation when getting your instrument is through Band Room. They provide great instruments, and they actually have really good competitive prices, and they also fix the instruments when they break. This is a rent-to-own program. So you're not just renting an instrument and your money's getting thrown away. All the money that you put towards your instrument is in the end coming back to you, because this will be your instrument. Now, with their repair plan, it'll be $25.56 a month. That's for the flute, clarinet, trombone, and trumpet. The other instruments, it starts scaling higher and higher and higher. Saxophones are very expensive, all of those things. This year, this is different. Normally, they would deliver it to the school, and the kids would get it from school. But this year, this is pretty cool going on with COVID. They are actually going to be delivering all of the instruments to everybody's house. So if you order one, it'll be delivered straight to your house, which is pretty cool. That's something new. The first 2 months are free, and they deliver the instruments the first week of school. But that's normally, they wouldn't normally deliver it the first week of school, but because of this, it'll be delivered straight to your house. The first 2 months are free, which is awesome, because if your kid tries it and like in that first 2 months they're just like, absolutely no, band is not for me, I am not liking this whatsoever, you can return the instrument and not get charged, which is pretty cool. So those first 2 months are really great for a trial period, or like a trial run, to see if they even like it. Also, when you order it, your contract doesn't actually start until the instrument is delivered. And it is definitely the only instrument rental company that covers lost and stolen instruments. I have not heard of another company ever doing this. That was way back, even in Ohio where I lived. I had never heard of a company covering that. So that's amazing, the lost and stolen instruments. And I'll tell you, last year this happened twice. And so they cover that. You just have to fill out a police report and submit it. You just give them a call. They'll tell you what you need to do. Give me a call, and I will contact them and try to talk with them and figure out what you need to do. Let me know, and I'll help you. What not to get. Okay, so please do not buy an off-brand instrument from places like Walmart, Amazon, pawn shops, Craigslist, Music Shack, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, etc. Right? These are going to be a waste of money. All right? It's going to be a waste of your money. Really, these are glorified toys. They're not actual instruments. They're not band instruments. These are glorified toys. These things make it actually harder for your kids to play. They make it a lot harder to play well. They break way easier than actual real instruments. And they are not insured for repairs, lost, or stolen. Many instrument repair shops will not even repair these instruments because they don't have parts, because they're not real instruments, okay? So you really got to make sure that what you're getting is a real instrument, because yes, I know that there's a whole pandemic going on, and so money is tight and all that. I would hate for you to waste a couple $100 buying this really cheap instrument just for it to fall apart in the first month, and now you have to spend more money to get another one because you can't even get it fixed, right? That is a big problem. Please be careful. Please be careful when you're going into some of these music shops, as a lot of them will just try to sell you something, but not what you actually need. They're just trying to get a sale, so they'll just kind of tell you anything they can to make that sale. So really, please be careful with all of that. With Bandroom, I really like them. They don't pay me to say that, and they don't do anything for me to say that. It's just that we've tried a whole bunch of different music stores here in Orlando, and this is the one that has done the consistent best job. When the school year is normal, they come to the school every Friday to pick up any broken instruments to get them fixed. If you do a rent-to-own program through Bandroom, please sign up for the repair program. And I know you might be like, hey, my kid's just going to be in the room. It doesn't even go to school. What's going on? Your kids will accidentally break them at some point, and I will teach them how to hold it properly and how to take care of it, but it will happen, all right? As much as that stinks, it will break at some point because of and they might do it by an accident, but things happen. At least in this case with Bandroom, you can take it down to the shop, they'll fix it, and then you're good to go. Brands to avoid. These are not good brands, all right? These are glorified toys. Jean-Baptiste, Simba, Glory, Mendini, all right? If it sounds like it came from the Lion King, don't get it, all right? If the deal is too good to be true, it probably is. Many of these instruments are made with super cheap materials and make it much harder to be successful, all right? Great brands to check out. If you're like, well, I don't want to do rent to own, I do want to get my own instrument, some really great brands to check out. Yamaha and Bach, Kahn, Selmer, Gemeinhardt, okay? Yamaha pretty much, this is like my favorite brand. Yamaha consistently for every single instrument is very good. Bach is fantastic for like brass, like trumpets and trombones. Kahn is also very good. I play on a Kahn trombone. Selmer is really good for woodwinds, like clarinet. Really, really great is Selmer. Gemeinhardt, fantastic for flute. But Yamaha everything is really, really good. With that being said, if you are looking for like one of those instruments, there are some really great places to check out, whether that's like Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or eBay, things like that. You could find those great brands. It is harder to find, and you want to find that it's in good condition, because you don't want to get one that's just completely destroyed either. If you would like help with that, send me an email with like the listing of it, and I'll try to help you out with it as well. But again, the best thing to do is just to do a rent-to-own program. Now, some people might be asking, what about renting from the school? This year, because of COVID, it is only for the second and third year students. In the past, we used to rent out instruments like tubas, euphoniums, French horns, but because of COVID, we are not allowed to share instruments, and because most of our students are going to be at home. Obviously, you won't be able to like drive it over to each person's house and all that stuff. In the past, what we did was we had to share instruments, and people would have their own mouthpiece. We are no longer allowed to do that, and we're not going to do that. So we are not starting tubas, euphoniums, French horns, and to make sure that we have enough for the students that did start that last year or even 2 years ago, they'll have a chance to rent those instruments. Otherwise, we don't have any school flutes, clarinets, trumpets, or trombones, okay? So you will have to get your own. So, band binder. This is a recommendation. Normally, this would be required under a normal year, but because everything is a little bit off this year, everything's a little different, I would strongly recommend that all OMS band students get a 1-inch 3-ring binder with at least 50 sheet protectors. Now, the reason being is that it's a lot easier to read and interact with music when it is physically in front of you rather than when it's digitally, because they're going to have the program, a big blue button up, where they're seeing me, and maybe I'm pulling some stuff up to show them, or maybe I'm over here demonstrating, but then they would have to open up a new tab to look at their music, and it's going to get really annoying trying to go back and forth between all that, when they could just have me up live streaming and their music right next to them. Okay, all of the music will be posted digitally on Canvas, but if it's possible, I would strongly suggest printing out the music. If you have access to a printer, it would be really nice for your kids to print it out. They would actually have it. Having a binder with sheet protectors will help kids from losing and bending up any music that you print. This keeps it all in one spot, and a lot of times music and all of these supplemental music that I'll make and I print, I make a lot of extra things for them. We use that from 6th grade through 8th grade. So usually they start with it in 6th grade, and then as the years go, we add to it. The sheet protectors I found, because the kids are a lot younger, has helped to minimize losing music, ripping music, bending music to where they can't read it, all those things. So the sheet protectors is something that has helped in the past. I'll let you make that choice. Reeds. What are reeds? Reeds are this little wood piece that you have to make a sound on a clarinet or a saxophone, okay? Without a reed, the instrument literally does not play. It's the thing that makes a sound on the instrument, okay? If your student decides to be a clarinet player, you will need to buy a box of reeds. And this is only for clarinets. If you're flute, trumpet, trombone, you're good. But only clarinets, you'll need to buy a box of reeds. A box of reeds is usually about 10 reeds. And one reed is good for about a month unless you rotate it and take care of them. So if you just had one reed and they play it every day in class and they don't change that one reed, then it's good for only about a month. It kills the reed. But because they're going to buy a box and have 10 reeds, what they should do, and I will teach them this, is rotate those reeds. So one day I'll have this reed, the next day I'll do this reed, this day I'll do this reed, this day I'll do this reed, and then we'll start back over at the first one, right? So we'll rotate them, and that will make them last for a significant longer amount of time. What reeds do they need? They must be Van Doren 2.5-inch reeds. Okay, these are called the blue box. When you see it, it just looks like a blue box. All right, with like a little clarinet on it. 2.5. That part is so important because what that is, it's like the strength of the reed, and so the higher the number, the harder the reed is to play. The lower the number, the softer the reed is to play. It's kind of like working out. If you've never worked out before and you go into the gym and you take these weights, you're not going to start at the 100-pound weights. You're going to start at something a lot lighter. And after you've done that for a couple times and you've gotten stronger, you move on to the next one. Because they are beginners, they need to start on that 2.5. Otherwise, if you get at something higher than that, it's going to get a lot harder. But wait, Mr. Chase, I Googled it. There's something lower than 2.5. Should I have them start there? No, because once you get lower than that, they're not even gaining any muscles. And it's going to make it harder later on, and they're going to start off with a worse sound, and they're going to sound bad, okay? 2.5 is like the standard beginner reed. All right, this is where they start developing some muscles, they get stronger, they can make a good sound, and then starting, if they decide to continue in band into second year, we'll move them up to a 3, and so on and so forth. Reeds are extremely fragile. When you see them, they are so thin at the tip, and your child will break them by accident. It just happens. It's part of it. So please buy a box, not just have like 1 or 2. Please buy a box so that your student has another reed ready to go at all times. It will break, unfortunately. It's just so thin. And then they'll get used to it. They'll take a lot more care of it. And the worst part about reeds are the smallest little crack in it. The smallest little crack completely ruins that reed to where it doesn't work anymore. The thickness and quality, the brand, are extremely important. It is super important that beginners start with a Van Doren 2.5 blue box reeds. Van Doren, right? That's going to be your brand that you want to have. There are other reeds, and you might be like, well, Mr. Chase, this other reed is cheaper in price. So there's like a brand called Slade. There's a brand called Rico. There's some other off-brand reeds too. These reeds are really cheap, and they sound really bad, okay? And I want to save your ears the trouble of having to listen to that, all right? But 2, they're just really bad reeds, and they will break a lot faster. They're even more fragile than the Van Doren reeds. So it's all about that sound quality. And with them practicing at home, I want to hope to save your ears as well. The book. So we use a beginning band textbook as well. This is going to be for flutes, clarinets, trumpets, trombones, so everyone. We use a beginning band textbook as well. We will be using Essential Elements for Band Book 1. It's a gold-colored book, and it goes to whatever instrument they play. So if your kid chooses flute, you get the flute book. If you do clarinet, the clarinet book, and so on and so forth. The book is only $8. All right, the book is $8 on Amazon. But you can also get it through Bandroom through the bundle that they have as well. With the purchase of the book, students get a free subscription to Essential Elements Interactive, which is an awesome online program. It really helps. So if they want to know, like, wait, I forget how that's supposed to sound, they can click it. It's got a whole bunch of extra videos and things like that. The book is super important because we will be using it almost every single day. It is one of the biggest part of our curriculum. It will also be easier to use with a physical copy than trying to use it digitally. I don't know of a digital copy of the book, especially one that's legal. So it's better just to have a physical copy in front of them. And this way too, we're going to be talking about different things. They can actually write in their music because it's their book. Optional band donation. Now this is totally just an optional thing. You don't have to do it. I totally understand everybody is in different places right now financially. Normally there is a band fee of $25 where 20 of those dollars is for a band polo. That's this that I'm wearing. This is like a dry fit polo. I've got our little symbol right here, and everybody would get one of those. It's what we would normally use for a concert. But because of the unique situation that we are in, I've decided to waive the band fee this year. Please know that without our normal band fee and our fundraisers, our band budget has been cut almost entirely. Normally, our budget is made up of the band fees and our fundraisers. Our fundraisers, we sell chocolates, but obviously with the pandemic, we can't sell food right now. So our budget has almost been slashed like entirely. So if you are so inclined, we would love for you to make a donation of $5 to the band. We would be very grateful on that, but don't feel like you have to. Alright, if you need to contact me, parents can contact me through email or through the Remind text message system. Students can contact me through Canvas messaging or through Remind text message system with parent permission. Email. If you would like to send me an email, you can reach me at dylan.chase@ocps.net. I get a lot of emails, so I will try to respond to your email as soon as I can. I'm very sorry if I miss your email. Sometimes I get so many emails that I accidentally miss yours. If I haven't responded to you, please send me another email. I don't mean to miss your emails, but I get so bogged down with it because there's so many students and so many things going on. So just send me another one. No hard feelings. It's all good. Also, I apologize if my emails are short. I'm just very busy with over 200 students. Sometimes if I have like 1 minute between classes, I'll click my email and I might see something and I can just give you like a quick answer. I don't mean to be short with you guys. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to get your answer out to you as soon as I can. Remind text. Another way that you can contact me is through Remind. Honestly, this is the fastest way to get a hold of me. Remind is a text message system that I can send out text messages to everyone at the same time. You can also send me a message through Remind as well. So I can send out like a text blast. It goes to all 200 students and their parents. And then if you have like a question or something, you can send me a message, like send me a quick text, and it'll go to me. If you have a cell phone, you can join our band classes Remind with your phone. If you don't have a cell phone, you can also receive Remind through an email on your computer. This is our code to be in our Remind. So what you're going to do is text the code at, like at in like an email. So at ChaseBand1, like the number 1, to the number 81010. When you send this, it's going to send back like, what is your name? And are you a parent or a student? And what is your date of birth? Something like that to set up an account with you. You just send it back through text and you'll be in our group. So very last minute stuff. Please support your students. Band is going to be something completely new, so it will be difficult for all students. Band is totally different than pretty much everything else that they've done. It's going to be difficult at first, and I'm not going to lie, parents, it's not going to sound good at first. But if you give it some time, we will work on it. We're going to make it better, and they're going to sound a lot better. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable for you and for them. Right here, this is so important. They have to practice at home, okay? Most of the kids are going to be at home, but they need to practice at home also, not just during the class, but after the class, so that they can practice these skills. We suggest 100 minutes a week. Band is a very disciplined activity. We have a lot of fun doing it, but we can never get to that point if we can't work together. So there are a lot of procedures in place. This is a very difficult year for all of us, so please be flexible as plans and situations are changing all the time. Please know that the safety and well-being of your children are my top priority. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask. You can always reach me at dylan.chase@ocps.net, or you can send me a text message through Remind. So thank you guys very much. Thank you for tuning in.